Well, here we go again, guys. Mastering sleep. Okay, so this is one of those things that I feel like are very unique to Americans. We tend to poo-poo sleep. We tend to think that it's not as important as it actually is. And so, basically, just to give you a little idea of what's going on, we only burn fat and build muscle when we're sleeping, right? Yet that seems to be the thing that most of us put on the back burner or just not take as seriously as we need to take it, which then in turn causes stress in our system, which then in turn causes increased levels of cortisol, which shut down metabolism and essentially all non-vital functions of our body. So it's sort of a double whammy. It's not just feeling tired from not sleeping, it's the stress response that happens in your system because you got less sleep. And now, in general, what they're saying is that as a rule of thumb, whenever you get less than 6 hours of sleep, you're already pre-diabetic, at least for that day. What that means is your body's already becoming more insulin resistant because what happens is when you release cortisol, cortisol, among other things, is a stress hormone, which I'm sure we're all familiar with. But what happens exactly is it essentially is a fight or flight hormone that shuts down non-vital systems, increases blood flow to extremities, thickens blood platelets so that way you don't bleed out if you were to get cut in a fight, and increases adrenaline and all these other things in case you have to run or sprint or whatever, get out of a hairy situation. In a survival context, that's brilliant. In a day-to-day chronic basis, because you're over fatigued, which you don't sleep, so you're tired, then you over caffeinate, and then you're just stressed out because you haven't slept well enough, so you can't manage your stress properly. You can see how the cumulative effect of this can be very damaging to your system, not to mention the fact that you're just not burning as many calories, you're not going to be building as much muscle, and then a side effect of lack of sleep is other crave centers in our brain light up. For example, we want more carbohydrates to give us more energy because we didn't sleep properly. So that's kind of the vicious cycle of what being sleep deprived looks like. So here's a quick strategy on how to make sure that we can avoid that. And essentially it's what I prescribe all my clients is the 10-3-2-1 theory. So 10-3-2-1 is essentially no caffeine 10 hours before bed, okay? No food or alcohol 3 hours before bed, no screens 2 hours before bed, and then lights dimming down 1 hour before bed. Okay, and so this is the formula for success. It's a very simple, straightforward approach to making sure that we're creating a proper environment. We are setting ourselves up for success, and most importantly, training our brain and coaxing our brain to start to recognize that pattern 10-3-2-1, 10-3-2-1, day after day, so that way it starts to coax us into feeling asleep, almost like lulling us into sleep, right, as our brain starts to pick up and recognize this pattern. So to recap, guys, just no caffeine 10 hours before bed. Now I take it a step further and I pretty much do no caffeine 12 hours before bed. So I'm done with caffeine around 10 a.m. And then no food or alcohol 3 hours before bed, right? And so in other words, you don't want to be digesting food as you're trying to sleep as well. When there's two systems going on at once, neither of them can work as effectively. So no food or alcohol 3 hours before bed. And then no screens 2 hours. This is a big one. No screens 2 hours before bed. And so what that means is it's the blue light, right, that messes up our circadian rhythm. Right now I'm looking into a camera on my computer, talking to it, and I'm getting blue light reflected back into my eyes. What that does is it tricks my brain into thinking that it's bright, light, daytime out. And so if you're on your phone, if you're on Instagram, if you're on Facebook, if you're watching YouTube videos, up until the minute you go to sleep, you try to close your eyes, your brain's still going. It's still wired. And so we got to make sure we cut that system out 2 hours before bed. So if you go to bed at 10 o'clock, by 8, do your best to put your phone down. And then 1 hour before bed, we got to start setting the mood. We got to start dimming lights, maybe turn the TV off. That's when you want to start your rituals, your evening rituals. Like for me, I take a shower in the evening, brush my teeth, floss, that sort of thing, take some vitamins. And so it's like my little evening, my little 30-40 minute evening ritual happens the hour before bed, and there's just no room for TV or screen time at that point. And so you need to find your rhythm, find your ritual. But in general, I want you to practice the 10-3-2-1. And if we can start getting you at least 7 hours of sleep, you're going to feel so much better. You're going to feel amazing. You're going to see way better results and just perform at your best, both mentally and physically. To put it in context for you, we need to give ourselves 8 hours of sleep opportunity in order to get 7 hours of sleep. So if I say you got to get 7 hours of sleep and you're thinking instantly, okay, 11 to 6. Well, no, that's 7 hours of opportunity you're giving yourself. So if you get in bed at 11, but your alarm goes off at 6, you're not sleeping 7 hours. You gave yourself 7 hours of opportunity, which means you probably laid in bed for at least 20 or 30 minutes, which means that you got 6.5 hours of sleep. So in order to give yourself at least to guarantee 7 hours of full deep sleep, you have to give yourself 8 hours of sleep opportunity. And so if you wake up at 6, that means you have to be in bed by 10, so that way you can start to hopefully doze off by 10:30, which would add up to about 7.5 hours. Okay, so there you go, guys. There's your sleep fix. See you in the next one. Email me if you have any questions.